What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the College Underdogs Podcast. I'm your host, Trey Smith. We are officially a part of the Believe Network, but as I said yesterday, we're still getting some of the back end things situated. So I don't know if it'll be in effect this week because I'm only going to do one more show with the holiday weekend, but I'm sure by next Monday we'll be ready and rolling. But anyways, like I also said yesterday, that doesn't impact you as the listener or viewer. So today I'm going to get into Jeff Traylor and the Aggie situation. He addressed it. I think the way he's kind of handling that is actually pretty genius. I'm going to play for you a quick audio clip or video clip if you're watching, audio if you're listening, and kind of talk about that for just a second. And then I want to get into this NCAA versus the House court case. Ross Dellinger dropped a report this morning talking about some of the potential ramifications of that. Could that destroy Group of Five football as we know it? Will it destroy college football as we know it? I want to get some conversation going on that. And then also looking at how that's going to impact this PAC court case. In fact, Tony Altmore on Twitter X, I don't want to misrepresent what he is saying, but after one of the videos I did last week, he had reached out with some information about this case prior to Dellinger's report even coming out. And he had some thoughts on how he thinks this could potentially impact the Pac-12 court case as far as moving more towards a settlement rather than actually going to an appeal at the Supreme Court. So looking at how that's going to impact Group of Five football, looking at how that's going to impact the Pac-12, Pac-2 court case, it's going to be interesting. So that's what's on the docket for today. Tomorrow, we'll continue to follow any trending topics with college football. We'll do a look ahead at the upcoming slate of games, as well as the holiday basketball tournaments. We'll look at the ones that are to be played and some games that have been played. That'll be tomorrow's show. And that'll be pretty much it for this weekend. I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. But before I get into today, if you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend, comment at the end, share it with a friend. Listen, we're like less than 10 away, or we're 10, 11 away from 4K. I said yesterday, let's try to get to 4,000 by Thanksgiving Day, 4K by Thanksgiving Day. So if you're not subscribed and you're watching right now, I'm asking you, please, please, please hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. This is the College Underdogs Podcast. We cover the college underdogs across the landscape of college football and basketball. And so let's get into it. First, I want to go over the Jeff Traylor thing. Obviously, last week, those of you that listen remember a report came out that he interviewed for the A&M job. We discussed that. He's an East Texas guy. He's an East Texas legend. Won multiple high school state championships. Then he goes to, from being a head high school coach to an assistant at the Division I level. I think he went to the University of Texas, and from there to Arkansas, or maybe he went from there to SMU, then to Arkansas. Now he's the head coach at UTSA and has done nothing but win at UTSA. In fact, now in the program's first year in the American Conference, they're one win away from playing in the conference championship. So, of course, you have to think someone like that, they look at jobs like A&M in Texas as like, man, if I'm ever going to leave, it's going to be for one of those. But Jeff Traylor's a guy that if there's anyone that's going to turn down the A&M job for UTSA, it's a guy like Jeff Traylor. Well, really Friday and then yesterday, he was very deflecting and avoidant of answering the question, did you interview for A&M? Friday, he just talked about this should all be about our players, Frank Harris, yada, yada. Then yesterday, he was asked again, point blank, did you interview for A&M, the A&M job? And he said, we play Friday at 2:30. Well, then yesterday evening on a radio show, he started talking about how these opportunities, basically, first off, what he said was, we have the same conversation at this time of year every year. He said, and that's a good thing. He said, because it means you're winning a lot of ball games, and it's a testament to the players. He said, in a situation like this, he said, it's a win-win. I don't know that he point blank said he interviewed for the job. He was more so talking about the reports of him interviewing for the job, saying that's a win-win. And when he was asked to clarify on that today by the same reporter, it's JJ Perez. Let me make sure I have the Twitter because that's where I got this video from. I'll also put his Twitter down in the comments here. But on Twitter, at the JJ Perez, he's one of the guys that covers UTSA, and that's where I got this video from. So I am going to play it now. It's a clip of Jeff Traylor responding to asking for him to clarify how this is all a win-win. So here we go.
Radio yesterday, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned something about being in a win-win situation with this whole off-the-field stuff. Can you clarify that?
Well, it comes up every year. So my kids are used to it, and we talk about it. It means they've been winning a lot of ball games. So it doesn't affect their play. Their first year, they went undefeated in the middle of COVID in that month. There was a lot of distractions. The next year, there was another rumor. We went 3-1 during that month. The next year, there were rumors. We went 4-0 during that month. This year, there are rumors. Those kids went 3-0 again. And whenever you are being discussed for jobs, that means you're winning a lot of ball games, which means the place you're at wants to keep you. So they're going to do what it takes. And the only thing we've ever asked for here are the things that it takes for us to be successful for our kids. My president, my AD, and our boosters are all in total agreement with all that. It just helps move the needle because it causes excitement. People give more, they go buy tickets, they buy more suites, they help, they just do more. And that's why I said it's a win-win. And in the end, what's best in all of this is for our players. And our players totally trust every word that I say. So therefore it works.
Under radio yesterday, I wanted to ask.
Okay, so here's my take on just Coach Traylor in general and then even his comments. Traylor is a guy I think will be completely content finishing his coaching career at UTSA and really seeing it all the way through, right? Having success at the American Conference, and if that eventually evolves into a opportunity to be in a Power 5 conference, which looking at how the landscape's changing, we're going to talk about that in just a second, could be on the horizons for a program like UTSA. But also, he's a guy that if I'm going to be that committed to the program, I want that same commitment from the program, right? I want that same commitment from the leadership and the stakeholders around the program that I'm willing to make. And essentially what he just said was me going and interviewing for that A&M job was to light a fire under some people's rear ends to get the needle moving, to get the ball rolling on some resources, whether it's facility upgrades, whether it's financial upgrades, whatever it is, to get the ball rolling faster on those things. Because, yeah, I'm committed to staying here at UTSA as long as we're willing to make the commitment to compete at the highest level, which he believes they are. But sometimes with that type of stuff, it can move slower. It can stall. It can become less of a priority. So then, okay, I'm going to go over here and interview for this A&M job. And now all of a sudden it starts to create urgency, right? It creates a demand for it. It creates we need to prioritize this so we don't lose our coach because he's wanted by programs like A&M. Now, does A&M really want Traylor? I don't know. And if A&M really reached out with him with an offer, I think he would take a good, long, hard look at it. I think if there's any coach that would turn down A&M to stay at UTSA, Jeff Traylor's one of them. I'm not saying he would. But it's very genius to me because he's not lying. He's not saying, I'm staying here, I'm going to be the coach, or I'm going. No, he's just saying, listen, this is a positive thing. It creates urgency. And if I had to guess, he probably has shared with his players, like if he did interview for that job, I bet he told his players, yeah, I did. And here's why. Because by me going and interviewing for that job, it helps create urgency with the leadership and stakeholders around this program to get you guys, the players, the student athletes, the financial and resource and facility upgrades that you deserve so that you can compete at the highest level. So that's like an easy sell. And then if something were to happen where he were to end up taking the A&M job, you can't turn around and say, oh, you lied, you said you weren't. Because I think everything he's saying is completely genuine. And he even said that my players trust me. And like for me, I heard that as I bet there's been a conversation with those players in regards to the all these rumors. And I'm sure he gave them an honest answer and told them why. And, and I didn't follow it too closely, but I know there was a student vote to increase a fee that would help some of this stuff. And the vote didn't pass. And so I know that's created some kind of, oh man, are we going to lose Traylor now or whatever? But I mean, he's right. He's been in some conversation the last several years. And I mean, I think it was Baylor, it was Tech, it's now A&M. And I think there was even another one in there that I'm missing, but those are my thoughts on Jeff Traylor. So curious to know yours. You can leave them in the comments, but I'm going to move it on now to this Dellinger report. So I'll put the link to this report down in the description. But it said college athletics headed for the great split. And I'm going to read you a couple of excerpts from this article. It's a pretty well-written piece, in my opinion, talking about what the consequences and ramifications of this House versus the NCAA case could be. And again, my understanding, the House versus the NCAA is essentially that the decision on that case could do away with NIL and would immediately entitle student athletes to splits of the television revenue that they help generate. And then also would require, I think, $3 billion in back pay, where conferences would be obligated to pay out back payments on that revenue. So, yeah, well, here it is right here in the article. The case seeking as much as $3 billion in retroactive name, image, and likeness and broadcasting revenue payments is the latest lawsuit expected to chip away at the NCAA's bedrock of amateurism. The case will undoubtedly force the organization to distribute more revenue to athletes like those legal losses before it. And it talks about in 2015, the cost of attendance payment in 2015, the Alston academic-related stipends sorry, my computer's messing up on me, in 2021. All right, moving on. However, the House case is much more significant as it opens the door for direct pay to athletes by seeking the elimination of the NCAA's NIL rules. One SEC president describes its outcome as financially catastrophic. There is talk of FBS schools each chipping in upwards of $5 to $10 million in potential settlement payments. Insiders say the case will require the industry to reshape itself. In fact, according to former Duke and Notre Dame athletic director Kevin White, such conversations are transpiring at the highest level of the industry. Futuristically, we need to recreate or relaunch the NCAA. We have to have a good leader in Charlie Baker who can do that. There is some modeling going on. So he talks about the modeling. He said there are a number of models being created. Some I've been sworn to secrecy. And this is Notre Dame athletic director talking. I sat in a room and listened to a model. There is no end to the models, the next iteration and what it might look like. After the meeting, White spoke more to Yahoo Sports about the models, some of which would have the power conference schools leave and take their resources with them. This is where the group of five could be significantly impacted. He said that's something he believes will negatively impact college athletics' broad-based Olympic sports system. For someone like me, that is devastating, he said. It's beyond devastating. It's nuclear. So it says the night commission meeting, though absent of key decision makers, sets the stage for a critical next several months where such decision makers begin seriously exploring a reshaped NCAA. And it talks about they're going to have meetings in Las Vegas. But here's the thing. If the power conferences were to separate from the NCAA and take their resources with them, as this AD just was quoted saying, what do you do as a group of 5 conference? You know, what's tough for me to comprehend with this is just this complete elimination of that David versus Goliath matchups. I mean, even in the early season, you know, most G5, P5 matchups are tune-up games for the P5. But every now and then you have those G5 teams that pull off the upset. That attracts and engages viewers. That's good for the game. Everyone loves to see an underdog, a team that doesn't have near the level of resources, near the level of money, near the level of facilities, competing against a team that's got just head and shoulders above the amount of those things than the team they're playing against. I'd seen where someone had said, well, if this happens, the G5 should just refuse to play P5. Refuse to play them all together and just hold out. What are your thoughts on that? You know, it's not necessarily like about fear mongering or anything, but it's just about facing some of the realities of, you know, how much money, television revenue is really impacting the overall landscape of college athletics. And so I don't know, you know, I'm sitting here trying to think of what do the G5 conferences do? Because then at that point, every G5 conference team are the ones that are on the, you know, on that line of trying to get a Power 5 invite. I mean, do they try to go independent and try to get in with that? I mean, like, how is this going to impact the big picture? You know, does the G5 become the new FCS? Can they get sustainable media deals in a landscape where you've got the Power 5 completely separate, functioning independently? How does that impact bowl season? How does that impact the CFP? Like, there's so many different questions to have to go through as how and really ponder and ask to really begin to comprehend it. So if you're listening right now, you're watching, just what are your thoughts on this in the comments? Like, where do you see this thing headed? I'm not always the greatest like forecaster of events. I usually try to look at facts. I usually try to take logical, rational information, you know, particularly like in realignment season when all the different rumors are flying around. Well, with something like this, where are things headed? Is this really a possibility? I mean, it is a possibility, but do you think this is going to be a reality? And if it is, what does that mean for the G5 conferences and their teams? Like, what do the teams do? And then the other thing, getting back to the Tony Aldermore message that he had reached out with, is basically the Pac-2 doesn't want to find themselves in a position. And listen, I don't want to put like words in his mouth. Like, I don't want to misrepresent what he was saying. So this is kind of how I interpreted what he was saying. But it was basically like the long-term liability that is attached to the potential decision made in this court case, and the liability being the back payments that have to be made. If you're two teams under the banner of the Pac-12 now, you don't want to be liable for all of those back payments without having some sort of agreement in place with the departing members. That's how I understand it. And so that's another thing to take into consideration with this litigation, because a settlement might be the best option for all parties if that were to be the case. Now, that's what I don't know. Are the departing members going to be liable for payments that are an obligation of their former conference, being that they were in that conference, or does whoever's in that conference, are they liable for the back payments of those media deals? Because at the end of the day, the television revenue agreements are made between the network and the conferences, not necessarily the network and the teams. And if I'm off on that, feel free to correct me in the comments, but I think that's good food for thought on that Pac court case situation. So that's it for today. Curious to know, those of you that are tuned in with what's going on with Jeff Traylor and the A&M UTSA stuff, let me know your thoughts there. Let me know your thoughts on this Dellinger report. And then, of course, how you think this could impact the Pac-2 court case. That's it for me today. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching another episode of the College Underdogs Podcast. Trey Smith signing off.